Hello and welcome to Techvana, the NTech New Zealand Computer Museum. Today we would actually like to show you quite a cute little gadget for one of our exhibits, the Commodore 64. Do you remember back in the old days was once one of the most sold computers, made it actually in the Guinness Book of Records, and home computers I should add of course. And yes, as said before, I would like to put your focus on a very little baby. The closer we look, the more interesting it's becoming. Because it looks, if you look here, it says Commodore, a little bit like the typical Commodore 1541 floppy disk drive, but just much smaller. This is actually an SD card. So, is it an SD card reader? Well, SD card readers usually come, like this one here, with a USB plug for a USB port. The USB ports didn't exist in the early days of the Commodores. This is the typical Commodore floppy disk plug, which came with these good old devices. It is just so much smaller, as you can see. And even the floppy disks, which were here and fitting here in the floppy disk drive, are much bigger than, if I show it for a comparison, these SD cards. They are not just smaller, the SD cards, they actually have more space. This floppy disk had 170K. This one has about 1 gig. Imagine 170Ks, this means roughly 6 of these build 1 megabyte. 1 gigabyte is not just 6, it's 6,000 of these floppy disks fitting on here. How can we make this thing work with our good old Commodore 64? So now comes the interesting part. How do we bring these two bits together? Well, let's go to the ports. First of all, I switch the Commodore off, of course, as we should always do. And now here we see the ports, the cartridge port, the video port, and the serial floppy disk port. So we take our old traditional floppy disk out, like that. Then we get here our new SD drive here and just connect the plug as we would do it with a floppy disk. Just not too hard to do. It needs power though. Doesn't work without power. Need to get it right. This is the power connector for the floppy disk port. Have to the writing on the top. It should look like that. Plug it in and off we go. Now can put it up here, and if I power the Commodore up, it should actually nicely start. Make sure the SD card is not switched in. Switch it on, and here we can see the Commodore powers up, the SD card initializes, and it's almost good to go. Just put it in, and here we go. A typical Commodore 64 screen, just with a standard version 2 basic, no extensions, nothing, just as it is. Let's just load the directory as we usually do. Load $8, and then have a look here. It reads the directory, and list tells us what's on. And I stopped it here because we can have a close look. It looks like a normal floppy disk with program files here, but quite interesting entries here which are called dir. And dir actually stands for directories. And they are the key to unleash the huge capacity of this SD card. So if I say list again, it would be just go endless. However, using a structure, a hierarchical structure, makes it easy to get thousands of files organized on this disk. But how do we read these directories? Well, we can do it with a little program, which was called FB. FB stands for file browser. Just loading it. And of course, the program would look like that. It's a kind of menu-driven program. So we see again the directory tree, the program file browser, and here we can go to the different programs. For instance, to D. If we want to enter in this directory, we press the Enter key. We see it works, and it's actually loading all the contents of the subdirectory D. here we go, lots of further files. And I want to put your focus on one particular file, I'm into it, which is called Dynamics, and which is here. Here we go, press enter again, and again I got here the contents, but this it's different. This has the extension D64, and that means actually it's not a directory anymore, it is a disk image. And if we mount or load a disk image, then we get exactly that what we had before with the floppy disk. And here we see the program Dynamics Plus, which we could just load and execute. However, I don't want to load it right now because I want to show you a little bit more about this program. And we see, for instance, here it's drive number 8. We could change the drive number. And we see here the arrow back, which means we could dismount this disk image again, which I will do. And so you see we go back to the directory tree. And we can even go here straight to the root, or just one further up to the D directory. This time we're going in again, and now in this case I want just to go to the root. And finally, when I'm in the root and I want to quit the program, I just press the Q button for quit. I would rather show you how you can operate this drive just from the contents of the disk. So we get the directory, list the contents, and this time we would like to go to the directory D. How do we go there? Well, we type in open, just as you said it, I better clear the screen, open 1,8,15, and now we want to pass over the command string to going to D, which is CD, just as you may know, change directory, / for the root directory, D for the subdirectory, and then we close it. And this moved us to the subdirectory D. If we load the directory contents and have a list, we press enter, we see here all the programs that just stand with D. You can see it's again directories. If we want to now go to our preferred Dynamics, we have to change directory again. 1,115, 815, and now we pass over the command string cd / Dynamics, and that should do the trick. Here we go. So if we want to mount a disk image, we pass again, clear it again, use again the command channel, and then for mounting, of course, we use the cd command again, but a colon, which tells us we don't want to change in another directory. We want to go to dynamics.d64. We do want to mount it. Have a look at. So that should have done the trick. Let's load the directory contents. Let's list it. And here we go. We see a mounted image of the Dynamics. Now let's finally load the program. While we are waiting for the loading, I want to show you one more little thing we can do over the command channel. 1,815. And what it is actually we can even reset the device and read the command channel. UI is the normal reset command, and if you see the command string, it tells us here number 73, the name of the device, the version number, just as it would do a normal floppy disk. And if we run it, we are off to go.